Yes, sir. Shout outs to the intro. Welcome back to Rich Talks. I'm your host, Unk, aka Ree. You already know what it is. Let's get to it. Happy New Year, yo. So I didn't really have like a deep dive in mind for this episode today because I just wanted to just discuss some things that I found like a little bit interesting. Just, I'm just kind of freestyling at this time. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna even put this episode out, but like I don't know. If you're listening to it right now, then I guess I decided that it was a good enough to do it. Like, you know. Anyway, so the first thing I wanted to discuss today. Let's see. Yo, shout outs to Dr. Umar Johnson, man. Shout outs to him. Yeah, man, that dude is funny sometimes, man. Like, really funny. Like, I mean, I certainly don't agree with like everything he has to say about everything, obviously, because you're not gonna agree with everything that everyone has to say, and if you do, then you're 100% a yes man. But I do respect his opinion and the fact that he's consistent with his messaging. But wait, before we even go in on, I should probably like preface this, right? So for those that don't know who he is, Dr. Umar Johnson is he's a well-known pro-black activist, motivational speaker, school psychologist. That's essentially where his title of doctor actually comes from, and just overall controversial figure, which is essentially what happens to most people when like they're saying things that the powers that be don't really want you to be saying. So you end up being controversial, right? He's the self-proclaimed Prince of Pan-Africanism. And Pan-Africanism is it's essentially like a worldwide movement that kind of like aims to strengthen and encourage solidarity and strong bonds between like those of indigenous and the diasporas of African ancestry, right? So in a sense, it kind of teaches about a collective self-reliance amongst those of African descent and whatnot. Functionally kind of similar to how the followers of the Jewish faith have been able to like do over the years, but like the key difference here is the Jewish people, they don't it's not race-based thing, it's faith, right? Like they follow a religion, everything's organized, there's like a hierarchical system, and everyone follows like specific laws. With Pan-Africanism, you kind of want to get everybody in one thing, right? And it is race-based, but like to get everyone, we need to kind of create some kind of hierarchy, like some kind of government, like, you know. It's, anyway, I'm going off on different tangents here, like, but Pan-Africanists do believe that the solidarity will enable the continent to like fulfill its potential to independently provide for all its people. Crucially, an all-African alliance would empower African people more globally. That's the message. Obviously, I have no issues with Pan-Africanism because shout outs to that. Like, I applaud it, yo. What? Are you kidding me? I mean, I agree that as a collective, people who look like me should be able to come together in solidarity to build a community. I mean, a village of individuals that can guide our futures, you know, like literally guide our future generations, because that's what we're here for. Like, we don't live for the now, we live for the future. Like, that's at least how we should be. But my problem in this instance with Dr. Umar Johnson himself, although he does retain a lot of knowledge and he's very sincere in his messaging, at least he's consistent with it, he does have controversial takes. And like, there is a take that he had on the Joe Budden podcast. I don't know if he was like saying it jokingly, but like, I don't know, it's just it sparked a conversation. So the reason I bring it up is because he was on the Joe Budden podcast, and he said, Joe basically asked him a question about like greatest of all times, like who could be in the discussion of being one of the greatest of all times, and they mentioned Eminem. And Umar said that Eminem can't be considered one of the greatest rappers of all time because he's white. Now to me, I'm like, come on, man. Like personally, I've never liked the take where people are like, white people are just like guests in hip hop. Like I need someone to make that make sense for me, because like, what kind of gatekeeping tomfoolery is that? Like, rap has always, like, since its inception, been about who has the best rhyming ability, who has the best skills. It's never had the thing to do with race. Like, everyone can rap. Like, come on, man. If we're really going by Umar's logic alone, then you kind of have to say that Michael Jackson can't ever be considered the king of pop. Then, by that same logic, you have to say that since basketball was invented by a white Canadian man, then all of our greats, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, like all of these guys can't be considered in the greatest of all time discussion, technically. Why? Because they're not white, and basketball was invented by a white person, was it not? That's what I mean by the logic. It seems a little flawed, right? Like literally, by that logic, the greatest basketball player of all time would be Larry Bird or John Stockton, like, since they're white, right? Nah. Ironically, I actually think that being a fan of hip hop music, particularly like the lyrical miracle type of rhymes, you sort of kind of develop this. I like to call it like a bullshit elevator, because like when you're dealing with like because with the lyrical miracle bars, sometimes it just like goes over your head and you literally have to go back and like, wait. What did he say? What did he say? And you kind of like listen to it over and over, and you start to catch the double meanings and the double and triple entendres. And I mean, I say all that to say it helps you develop your ability to listen for substance rather than just listening for whatever's hot, like a hot line or a dope beat. But that's not to say that we also don't like to listen to ignorant shit too, because I do like to listen to ignorant shit. Like, just sometimes you just want to listen to some ignorant shit. Like, I totally get that, and that's totally okay too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Hip hop has evolved so much since its inception, but like to say that somebody can't be considered in the greatest of all time discussion when everyone else considers like their skill level should put them in the greatest of all time discussion. Like, just because they're less melanated, or they're not part of a group that helped start hip hop, like I just don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? Because like everyone has the same capacity to be just as great. Like your ability to, like, I don't know. I think everyone just has the same capacity to be just as great, because rap is about rhyming skills, and everybody has the ability to put a rhyme together, you know? Like, I don't think it's fair to say that someone can't be in the conversation when they pretty much check all the other boxes that would have them in the conversation to begin with. Like, there's so many non-black rap legends that there's just no way you can ever like count them out of the conversation when it comes to just pure skill. Like, what about Big Pun? He's not black, Puerto Rican. Immortal Technique. Even Joel Ortiz, like he raps better than a lot of people that I even personally have in my top 10. Like, skills wise, skills knows no race. I would say, like, skills does not know race. Like, even shout outs to Mercules. Like, if we're talking about just like legends in general, like he's a Canadian rap legend, a white one too, right there. Like, and he's actually pretty good. And honestly, the list can go on. Like, but I don't think we can be out here like trying to make tribal warfare out of one of our favorite genres. You know, like, music is supposed to bring us together, not cause division. You know what I mean? Like, rap has always been about who rhymes the best. Like, you can lose a hand or a foot tomorrow, but it wouldn't affect your rhyming ability, though, would it? To say, I don't know, for me to say Eminem shouldn't even be considered is kind of crazy. Like, that man used to snap back in the day. Like, that white boy is easily top 10 when it comes to rap battles. Like, the way he utterly destroyed Ray Benzino back in the day. For those that don't know, Benzino is rapper Coil Ray's father. He owned the Source Award. Wow. Wow, what is going on? The Source magazine. Yeah, he ran the Source magazine back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and like they were the go-to source for like for I guess checking boxes of like if something in hip hop was good or not. Like Double XL's taking over that, but like the Source was like a big thing back then. But the way he utterly destroyed Benzino back in the day on the track called Nail in the Coffin, it was honestly incredible. Like from the starting line, like I'm not even including the hook, you knew he wasn't playing. Like this boy was not playing. Like the man started off even using the slow flow, and normally Eminem is not a slow flower. Like he raps fast normally, but he would how'd the line go? It went, I would never claim to be no Ray Benzino, an 83-year-old fake Pacino. So how can he hold me over the balcony without throwing his lower back out as soon as he goes to lift me? Please don't, you'll probably fall with me and our asses will both be history. But then again, you'll finally get your wish, cause you'll be all over the street like 50 Cent. Woo! Woo!
You're a victim. There we go.
Jeez. That's crazy. Or what about his verse on Renegade that everyone always talks about? Like, I mean, they honestly talk about it because Nas mentioned it on the infamous Ether diss track where he was like, "And Eminem murdered you on your own shit." But funny story about Renegade song, actually. So Eminem was actually supposed to he originally planned to do like an entirely different song altogether for Jay-Z's Blueprint album, but when he was asked to do it, due to like some things that were out of his control, like he couldn't get to the physical reels of the track that he wanted to make, or something weird. Anyways, something out of his control. And at the time, he knew that Jay-Z was like working on a short deadline, so it's either like get something in or you're not going to be on the Blueprint album, right? So he basically decided to offer him the song Renegade, which was already a completed song with verses from Royce da 5'9". Like Renegade, the original Renegade was actually it was like back and forth between Royce and Eminem, like the same way, similar to like Jadakiss and Styles P when they did the song Shootouts. Like, you know, they just like go back and forth with their verses, and on the well, if you don't know, just check out the song Shootouts by Styles P and Jadakiss. That dope song. Yeah. Anyways, going back to Renegade here. Yeah, it was just like a back and forth between Royce and Eminem, and I guess they got Royce's approval for the track, so they gave the track to Jay-Z, who basically recorded his own vocals over Royce's parts. So technically speaking, Eminem didn't actually even write a fresh verse for this, but the fact that it was still able to hold its own against Jay-Z's verses, which he had to have heard Eminem's verses before he crafted his own, right? So the fact that Eminem's verses, even though he didn't even rewrite the verses, still held their own is actually, that just shows the level of skill that Eminem really possessed. Like think about it. His verse is crazy. How they go? Since I'm in the position to talk to these kids and they listen, I ain't no politician, but I'll kick it with them a minute. Cause see, they call me a menace, and if the shoe fits, I'll wear it. But if it don't, then y'all will swallow the truth, grin and bear it. Now who's the king of these rude, ludicrous, lucrative lyrics? Who could inherit the title, put the youth in hysterics, using this music to steer it, sharing his views and his merits? But there's a huge interference. They saying you shouldn't hear it. Maybe it's hatred I spew. Maybe it's food for the spirit. Maybe it's beautiful music I made for you to just cherish. But I'm debated, disputed, hated, and viewed in America as a motherfucking drug addict. Like you didn't experiment? Now, that's when you start to stare at who's in the mirror and you see yourself as a kid again. And you get embarrassed, and I got nothing to do but make you look stupid as parents, you fucking do-gooders. Too bad you couldn't do good at marriage. And do you have any clue what I had to do to get here? I don't think you do, so stay tuned and keep your ears glued to the stereo, cause here we go. He's jigga jerk. Remember when he did that? You know the original, like how he did the whole DJ scratch part, because he's like He jigga jerk, jigga jerk, jigga. It wasn't actually that. Like the original line was actually, "Cause here we go, he's Royce, the king of Detroit, and I'm the sinister Mr. Kiss My Ass is just a." Come on, man. Like, this guy is skilled, man. This guy is straight up skilled. Like, that was dope, man. I honestly think Umar's just wrong about this one, man. He's just wrong. Like, but I do think Umar gets a lot of unnecessary flack from people for his takes. But understand his bottom line is that he just wants black people to start generating more generational wealth. So shout outs to that, man. Like, controversial takes or not. I mean, because, like, if you're getting triggered by the things that someone has to say about something and you're not willing to hear anything else but whatever it is within your purview or echo chamber, then maybe that's a problem that you need to address internally first. Like treat mankind because I'm part of mankind. Like, that's a line from a Styles P song on the track Never Fight an African. Like, that line always resonated with me, man. Like, but it's crazy though, because when you always try to lead with love and it feels like people will always try to take advantage of that. I'm not people, like people in general. Some people will always try to take advantage of that because there's just always going to be opportunists. You always have to have a person of every type, every variety. That's just what makes us human, I guess. Like I always say though, like personally, my slogan though is, I'm not a nice guy, I just do nice things because I'm a kind person. And that's just my nature. Like most people's, like if you think about it, like most people's like religious scriptures in some way, shape or form will kind of mention in some instance of some form of like treat everyone how you'd like to be treated, you know, or like they sort of have like some variation of that, right? Because like I feel like we as humans live lives of duality, and we should always try to maintain a balance, lest we fall to the whims of defeatists and nihilists, like who just think having values is baseless. We can't do that. Like we've become so incensed by the lives of like digital selves and the fictional world that we're literally failing ourselves and our future generations with like this collective mentality of hating others for lacking and or having too much of something, whether that's melanin or money or hair or like anything. Like people just try to think of things that they just always try to have the haves and the have-nots. If you have and I have not, then I should be mad at you or I should hate you. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, you know, like the cancel culture and division based on political leanings. Like, I think we allow politicians way too much leeway. Like, we give them way too much leeway. Why do we allow politicians to govern our mentality? That is what a government is, right? Governing your mentality. Like, they technically work for us, you know? Like, the people are the leaders of the country, not the gorillas in suits yelling rabble, rabble, rabble to each other in front of cameras, only to embrace and point and laugh at us when all the lights go off and the curtains fall. Hey, we live in such a clown world now. Like, I recently just heard about a story in the UK where, like, yo, this doesn't make any sense, man. They're saying the police are now allocating resources to investigating a virtual as in online, as in not actually real, as in not actually affecting people's lives, but allocating resources to investigating a virtual gang rape on like one of those meta world things. And all this while they have like over 10,000 real cases that are just like still dragging along, because like, you know, some of these cases can take like up to 5 years just to get to trial. The first thing they should look at is, why is Meta even programming rape into this thing? Like, what? That wouldn't be there if it wasn't programmed into there, right? Like, these people are, nah, man. Like, I'm going off on way too much. I mean, like, but like, how is it that there's just so many non-leaders in positions of leading countries or leading governments, and what's the government always want to do? Like, come save you after they put you in a predicament in the first place. Like, listen, nobody needs anyone to come and save them. You need to save yourself first, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Then and only then can we start looking towards like building bridges amongst each other in whatever capacity that we're thinking. We have to start with the self, like the id and the ego and the super ego. We need to bring them into as one. Like, you need to figure out your id, your ego, and your super ego. You need to know who you are, is all I'm saying. I'm just going off on different tangents right now. I'm sorry. Yo, shout outs to Styles P again, man. Like, that song, Never Fight an African, one of my favorite songs, man. Like, really dope song. He had another line on there that I just wanted to highlight because it's just powerful to me, man. Like, it's just real powerful. Like, the line goes, "Let me give you a little insight. You are still black if your skin's light. You are still black if your skin's white. But forget about skin types. Focus on the facts. History will make the whole world black. Yeah, the whole world round. God is the king and we can all get a crown." Sheesh. Yeah, man. But I think those of us that live like in the West, like we grew up with capitalist mindsets, to be honest. Like, take that however you may, to be honest. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in all instances, just in a lot. But we just don't know how to, for lack of a better word, capitalize on it. Like, in the world of capitalism, like, everything is for sale. Like, especially people's outrage, and outrage is a big seller for those that have a way with words, you know. Like, for people easily led, you're almost guaranteed to make money. I mean, I don't know if this is like a fair comparison, but like, look at something like OnlyFans. Like, women are literally becoming millionaires from selling emotional attachments to people, and it's crazy good marketing, don't you think? But these people are paying for content because they think the fact that they pay gives them some kind of exclusivity to the product or commodity. In this case, the woman who's selling her content. So, like, just you being an OnlyFan and you're paying for her content means that now I have like this I have a connection to this person, when you really don't. I don't know. It's everything's for sale, man. Everything's for sale. Anywho, my next topic. I wanted to talk about Kath Williams versus everybody in comedy. Like, well, not really everybody, but more specifically, like Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, Kevin Hart. Who else did he mention? He took a shot at Faison Love. He said he shouldn't have conversations about real comics because he's not funny. He said Earthquake is illiterate and can't read. That's why he lost his show. He took shots at Michael Blackson, saying he's a real African with a fake African accent, which is crazy. Like, but I do kind of see his point there with Michael Blackson, because it does seem very, very performative whenever he's talking, and I've actually seen him in interviews, and there are times when his Philly accent is slipping out, and that seems, I don't know, it sounds more genuine to me. I don't know. This is coming from an African, so I do see the mannerisms a little bit, like the tonations and all these little things. But look at me, I don't even have an African accent. It's fine. But shout outs to Shannon Sharp and his podcast Club Shay Shay. Like, he's a really, really dope interviewer, honestly. Like, Kat also claimed that Ludacris was offered his role on Fast and the Furious franchise by the Illuminati. Man, like, it was just a really, really good interview, man. So entertaining. he said a lot of stuff. A lot of it just sounds so believable. Like, it's just a really good interview, man. Like, y'all should really check it out. But Cat really went in on like Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer, because he said Steve's whole story about him being homeless for 3 years and him being saved by his current wife is a made-up story, and he's told that same story every time he's married a new wife, because this is like Steve's like third wife, I'd say, and he's been telling that story since he married his first wife, and he's on the third one, and he's saying that it's his current wife, that every time it's his current wife that saved him. So it's like, how's this story just like getting an update every time you get married, fam? Anyways, now for me personally, I've never actually found Steve Harvey's stand-up funny. Like, I think he's TV funny, which there's nothing wrong with being TV funny. I just think if you claim to be one of the original kings of comedy, then your stand-up should be literally on point. You know what I'm saying? The Steve Harvey show from back in the day with him and Cedric the Entertainer, when he was rocking the fake afro and the long suit. You know, he wore those suits so much, people started calling it the Steve Harvey suits. Like, I still to this day call those suits the Steve Harvey suits, even though he doesn't even rock them anymore. But that's the Steve Harvey suits. By the way, like, Cat basically implied that Steve wore a wig, which kind of makes sense, because, like, think about it. No matter what I did growing up, it was just impossible to get my afro to look just as perfect. Like, not a single hair out of place. Like, the man walked around like he was a cartoon character on his head. Like, come on, not a single hair out of place ever. That can't be real, man. It just looked too perfect. Like, ain't nobody got hair like that, man. I'm sorry. And if you do, I apologize, but I haven't seen it in my anecdotal life. I haven't seen it. But yeah, man, the Steve Harvey show was actually funny, but the reason for that is because it was a sitcom, and that was likely written by real comedians. And if you really break down the show, the character that Steve Harvey plays, like, you know, the mannerism, like, his character's name was Steve Hightower. Like, come on, guys. Like the mannerisms and such, like, basically the same. I'd say it's like the same character, quote unquote, that he uses in his stand-up routine. Like, another reason that Steve gets flack, at least from me, is when he appeared on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay episode. He was saying like a lot of disparaging stuff about Bernie Mac, man. Like, R.I.P. to Bernie. From what Cat Williams had to say, it felt like Steve was probably jealous of Bernie and wanted his career, which makes a lot of sense. Like, not only was Bernie Mac a funnier comic, literally an actual true king of comedy. Like, let's give it up to him. Shout outs to the Mac. Yeah, like, but personally, I think he was just the better actor too. Like, Bernie had range, man. Bernie had range. He was Jangalang in the movie Life. With Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. You don't remember the line when Bernie Mac's character, the pappy. Oh man, that movie was dope, man. He played Flip, the homeless dude that got killed by Tupac's character Birdie in Above the Rim. Like, he was in Ocean's 11 and 12. Like, and he had his own show, the Bernie Mac show, and that was way funnier than the Steve Harvey show. I'm gonna tell you right now, the Bernie Mac show was way funnier. I think the Bernie Mac show is top 5 for best black sitcoms of all time. Not even just black sitcoms of all time. Bernie Mac show, definitely top 5. Nessa, Baby Girl. Oh man, that was crazy, man. Shoot. You know, I might have to do an episode or a segment about just like best sitcoms. Like, I really do love sitcoms. I loved sitcoms growing up. Like, that was one of my things. At first I was surprised to hear everything that Kat was saying about like Cedric the Entertainer, but like upon really thinking about it a little bit, I don't think Cedric is actually all of that funny, man. stand-up wise, like, no, like he's TV funny, but stand-up wise, I don't think he was all that funny either. And like with all these allegations of him joke stealing and like, I don't know, man, it just puts a weird little blemish on his on his legacy for me. Like the thing about me is I enjoy stand-up comedy, and it got me realizing something. Comedians that are great at stand-up tend to have more range when they do like performative acting roles and whatnot. Like think about some of your favorite comedy movies. Probably had at least one or more of these comedians in it. Eddie Murphy, Bernie Mac, Mike Epps, Chris Rock, Cat Williams, Martin Lawrence, or Dave Chappelle. Guaranteed, at least one of these guys and are in your favorite comedy movie. Like, or if not, you let me know, because like, damn, man, if I'm missing somebody, I apologize. But all those names I just named, top tier. Like all these people have like put out genuinely funny comedy specials at some point or other. Like even Paul Mooney was hilarious. He was hilarious. R.I.P. to him, man. And I know he was even a writer on the Chappelle Show. So just genuinely great, man. So something else really interesting that Kat brought up was the concept of gatekeepers and the industry plants. He basically said, and not in so many words, that Kevin Hart is an industry plant, which I can't say for sure is true, but I definitely feel like it does have some credence to it when you start looking into it a little bit. Like according to Kevin himself, he first began his stand-up career at a place called the Laugh House in Philly under the stage name Lil Kev, and he was booed off stage several times, including one instance where someone threw a piece of chicken at him. And after those unsuccessful shows, he started entering comedy competitions in like Massachusetts and on the East Coast, so like around Boston area, I assume. Like, you know what? Maybe he really did do those comedy competitions, because I personally have never found Kevin Hart's stand-up to be all that funny. And the reason I say over there is because like Massachusetts is very white, and I've always felt like his jokes are actually more geared towards entertaining the white masses rather than like doing black jokes. Like when you're watching comedy, you know the difference between a white joke and a black joke. You know when a black comedian is telling a white joke and when he's telling a black joke. It just is. That's a fact. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying I prefer black jokes. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you know. Like the you know I don't remember which special it was. It was I'm a Grown Little Man or the second one, I don't remember. But he was like, it was like somebody come look at this. Look at this. Everybody look at this. Like I remember that one, like ended up didn't that one like turn into a meme on the internet at some point? Like, you know, when he had like his head kind of turned like cocked out, like his neck is out kind of like a roostering a little bit. But I think it's because of the way that he was acting that actually made that joke funny. Like it was more his facial expressions and body language while he was saying it that made it kind of funny. But nothing about the joke itself was really entertaining to me. But not to get off on a whole bunch of different tangents, but like Kat says, while Kevin on the East Coast doing his comedy thing, how was he also simultaneously in LA signing deals like his very first sitcom, which he dropped around 2004, called The Big House? It was supposed to be kind of like a reverse version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Kevin's character kind of grows up pampered rather than like, you know, going to live with his rich relatives. The show was whatever, really, like, but it only had like 6 episodes. Like, and a year later, he's in Scary Movie, I think Scary Movie was a year before. Was it a year before? Yeah, I think it was. It might have been a year later. I don't remember. But by 2007, he's on Wild 'N Out, so then he's getting more exposure. Like, you know what? I think I am getting the timelines wrong a bit. He was in Scary Movie 3, which one of the worst scary movies of the entire series to me personally. Like, super unmemorable. I think that was the one with like Pamela Anderson was in it too. Like, I fell asleep watching that one. That was terrible. Yeah, that was definitely 2003. Yeah, that was 2003. In 2004, the same year that he did the Big House sitcom, he also did Soul Plane, which I'd say is when I actually started kind of noticing Kevin Hart more. But only ever in TV or movies, right? Like, I didn't even know he was a stand-up comedian. So his first actual special didn't really drop until like 2009. That one was the I'm a Grown Little Man, I think it was called. Yeah. And personally at the time, I think I kind of thought something was wrong with me because I didn't really find it funny, but people around me kept saying, man, it's funny, and I'm like, is it? And I can actually count the total number of times that I've laughed at all of Kevin Hart's specials combined, like Grown Little Man, Laugh at My Pain, and Let Me Explain. I can literally count the total number of times, and it's not a lot. So more and more, I kind of feel like Kat was right about Kevin being a potential industry plant. Because if you look at the stand-up specials nowadays, like, they're really out here just giving specials to people who are genuinely not funny. Like, there are so many Netflix comedy specials that I guarantee I will never ever watch, at least not in this lifetime. Like, y'all ever heard of what's her name, Hannah Gadsby? If you haven't, good, because she's not funny. Like, but she's got a Netflix special because she checks a whole bunch of boxes that the virtual world tries to manipulate people into believing is how the real world is when it isn't. Sorry, I'm going off again. I'm not trying to disparage. I'm just saying, I think Kat is right that Kevin is an industry plant. He's TV movie funny, just like Steve Harvey, just like Cedric the Entertainer. I really loved Cedric in Barbershop. Like, he played the funniest characters in that movie. But it doesn't mean that he wrote those jokes either, now does it? So, you know, like, the floodgates just seem like they're open at this point, you know? But yeah, everyone go check out Cat Williams' interview on Club Shay Shay. It's definitely interesting and entertaining watch. Also, I want to hear from y'all. Do you agree with my takes? Think I'm on some nut-ass bullshit? Y'all, you got questions? You got comments? Suggestions? Complaints? Like, hit me up, yo. richtalkspod@gmail.com, or follow me at Rich Talks. What is it? Rich Talks Media? At Rich Talks Media on Instagram? Yeah, you already know, man. And with that, calling it. Salute to the outro. Peace.